With the quorum present, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Budget Committee, the Co-op Budget Committee to order at 6:36 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Budget Committee for the month of November. It's taking place off our normal schedule, which is to be on the fourth Thursday of the month because of the way the Thanksgiving holiday is falling this year. And I would like to take a moment to introduce myself, Darlene Mann, and the members present this evening, who include Dave Flynn, Tom Enright, Tom Whalen, Raul Blanchet, and Matt McGuire. Brian Rader has an excused absence for this evening, and we are anticipating the arrival of Tom Solon shortly. And I'd like to also welcome Kelly Seeley, our business administrator, and ask you all to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Raul, you will be our process observer for this evening.
Wow. I don't remember how to do it.
I'll look for agenda adjustments at this time if anyone has anything. For approval of minutes, we don't have minutes to approve from the month of October because we didn't formally call into session due to the last minute illness of a member. We didn't have a quorum present. So since people were gathered, we had a discussion, and I've asked Dawn to review that live stream footage and put together some minutes, but they aren't anything that, it's really just a summary of the discussion and isn't something that we need to technically really approve because we never called into session. So we don't have minutes to approve for this evening. Seeing no public present, we'll bypass public input and move on to FY25 budget review, which I really should have called and included in the list there, guidance discussion, because since we didn't officially call to order, while we had a discussion about where we were anticipating guidance to be, we didn't take a position as a budget committee, which I would like to do this evening, to just kind of formally give that guidance to the administration. If you've had an opportunity to look at the budget trend file that I distributed, based on the latest view, which is view 3.0, there were some improvements made from the prior version 2 that we had, which actually kind of improved upon the guidance we were discussing. So we'll talk about that, talk about some of the latest data that we received for the month of November. We did also finalize tax rates in both towns, so we'll talk about that for a little bit, and we'll have a school board update this evening. So, looking at the budget trend file, as I mentioned, we are on version 3.0. There is a new round of items, and as I said, Kelly made some improvements upon the view to the tune of $700,000-ish, I think. Let's see. No, it wasn't that much. Oh, you know what? On the operating budget, it was an improvement. Yeah, on the operating budget side, right. It was an improvement of $691,000. So before we move over and look at preliminary guidance, maybe we could just talk through a little bit of the improvements that were made. We'll walk through preliminary guidance and we'll kind of see where we stand after that.
Basically, there were things, if you recall, I said I had absolutely not gone through any of the lines or anything at all. It was really just giving you the raw data last time. The time just wasn't there. So I went, as I call it, scrubbing the lines to look for any issues that, maybe there's something that's there twice or something like that, and just going through each line. So I found a lot that way. I also applied the grants to special ed accounts what else? We had the athletics, you know, we have the capital reserve fund there, so I shifted that amount to I'm sorry, not capital reserve fund, the athletic revolving fund. So I shifted the amounts that would go there. That's probably where
I
the
think,
biggest
and I think probably the
numbers.
other big change was a slightly reduced cost in the boiler replacement project
Oh,
for the
yes,
middle
it
school.
was originally quoted at 950,000 and the second quote came in at 915. So,
Right.
yeah.
And then looking at the new item spreadsheet, I don't see any significant, there were, an ad, over some chairs and furniture at the high school, but minimal amounts.
Right.
And, no dramatic personnel changes. The IT is on a replacement cycle, so that's
Yep.
continuing.
Yep.
There were, that was the boiler project. Maybe some movement on some of the, cameras that
Yep.
were reduced. But yeah, otherwise everything is pretty much still falling in line.
Right, and
So-
the additions that you see there are just things that I pulled out of the lines in the process of scrubbing, so.
So just as a quick overview for those who weren't, here and part of the kind of the discussion and the overview, Kelly, I don't recall there being, significant personnel shifts, like new positions. I think there was a shared the BCBA, and special education personnel that, is shared with the high school. So it's a co-op resource that'll, work in both schools.
Yes, and then as well as the teacher, but those are pretty much offset by the fact that we're dropping the NEC program.
Right.
The what program?
Oh, I know you're gonna ask me what that stands for.
Oh, I don't need the acronym,
Okay,
just
it's
generic is.
It's a program that we have, for the special ed kids, and we pay this is an organization, NEC, and I don't remember what it
Oh,
stands
okay.
for.
Gotcha.
But we,
NECC, right?
yeah, right, NECC. And we are dropping that program and just taking it on ourselves.
Okay,
Essentially, we're taking out a district and
yeah,
putting it in
that's all I
district.
needed, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so it results in savings to the district of $90,000. So by dropping that program and paying another resource 210, we're, taking on 105, so, thousand in expenses.
And ideally, we're improving the
The
educational
experience, yes, the
delivery.
experience of the
Because
student
we're
who
delivering
can
it
stay in
ourselves.
district
Right.
and,
we have more coverage, longer coverage. We can handle potentially other students with these resources. So it's a monetary savings, but first and foremost, it's an enhancement to the educational opportunity for the kids.
and would it serve as an opportunity for other districts, to send students to the program as well, or I'm
I-
not sure the scope of the program.
I think it's closer to a one-on-one kind of thing, so.
Mhm.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we have the traditional, facilities and maintenance items, the windows replacement, the ceiling tiles, some paving, improvement on electrical panels, all those things that we kind of phase in over time and kind of, manage. I think that helps our budget process by, identifying the rounds of items that need to be done and taken care of. So as a result of that, we are looking now at an operating budget of $31,258,052. And as we look at our guidance model, what we talked about last month and what I included in the spreadsheet is the traditional view and way we've calculated our preliminary guidance to the administration, and then an alternate version. The alternate version is based on FY24 actuals, additional adjustments for things that were approved for the current year, and those traditional ins and outs of what we look at when we're anticipating things for FY26. So that was the kind of the comparison view in column E. In column B is our traditional method of looking at our FY25 budget, reducing things that we would consider outside of guidance, coming down to a base number, evaluating what component of that is salaries and benefits that are addressed through a collective, or mostly salaries addressed through a collective bargaining agreement, applying a factor for CPI, and making a determination of what the adjustments to that base amount would be, and adding back other known items like a San Bernard's contract, changes to debt service that we're aware of, some, adding back in the special education costs, and in this case, looking at reduced rates for NHRS because for the next 2 budget cycles for 26 and 27, the rates have dropped from their current level. So, as a result of that calculation, and like I said, the ins and outs of the new budget, the budget committee, the adjusted view, working off of FY24's actuals and working forward, is actually higher than our traditional method of determining guidance. So it was higher last month when we did it, and because of some the updated information that Kelly has, it actually resulted in even slightly lower version than what we talked about in October. So the traditional way we do things is resulting in the lower view, looking at FY26. So that view results in guidance of $31,259,463, and the calculated operating budget presented in version 3 is $31,258,052, so lower by $1,400. So the district is coming in now below what we would have anticipated guidance to be. I will say on the view that we put together, we did, I do have an amount identified for the add back of a relief item of $915,000, and that's for the boiler replacement project here at the middle school. I understand the facilities committee is working on several different things, and at this time, the piping repairs of $915,000 are included in the budget.
Are or not? Are or are not?
Are included in the operating budget, but there is the potential that they might be financed a different way as the facilities committee makes its recommendations going forward. So for right now, it is included in the budget, and I've listed it as a relief item in consideration of the fact that it was, I believe, not passed previously. It's maintenance that's going to have to take place.
Yes.
So if it's financed a different way and that financing mechanism doesn't pass as at the annual meeting, the repairs have to be made, and that's why the full cost is added on the operating budget side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that 915, it's on both sides, and obviously in our view and in the view presented by the administration, and we have that $1,400 lower amount that's the operating budget is coming in now. So in effect, if we move forward and set guidance at the operating budget that's been submitted to date, we would have met guidance. If, as a budget committee, we feel that there should be some other improvements considered, we can certainly discuss those this evening.
Where is that number you were just talking about in your, you said it's
on the first page, the guidance multiplier calculation page. And if you go down,
Line 36 and 37.
line 36.
okay, I'm looking at the summary. I don't
Yeah,
see it.
that's it.
Okay.
It should be there. It's right by your thumb,
Right by my
right
thumb.
above your thumb. The 915.
There it is, 915,
Yep.
piping repairs, okay. 'Cause I didn't see it above.
Mhm.
So essentially, 915 would be a reduction in the budget
If
if
it was
it's
financed.
financed another way.
it's financed another way and it passes
So,
at
so they'll come in
meeting.
$1 million under
Well,
guidance.
but
Well,
if-
both
if-
sides would
Except
reduce.
that if it's passed the other way, there will be a payment there. And
Yes,
so they'll sort of, they won't cancel each other, but
Right, but a payment significantly less than the whole nut up front, right?
So there has to be
yes.
a strategy behind how you present the various articles, because if you bundle these 915 as part of an overall larger, say, bond article to do a number of repairs and energy conservation things, if that passes, then you can take this number out of this budget. But
Right,
if that
so
doesn't pass, it is here.
So it reduces the budget by.
But so we're gonna have to do some on the spot changes,
yeah.
be ready to explain that.
Yeah,
as we
I don't
go.
think it's a bad message that we're gonna
No.
come in $1 million under guidance. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding correctly that's what the
Right.
number's gonna do.
Well, it
On
would,
the budget, but if you look at the entire burden, it will not be that big a gap.
right, if it came
Yeah,
out of our operating budget, it's also coming out of the administration's operating budget, so we're coming down by the same amount.
okay.
But yeah, so.
Okay, you're right, so it's in their request as well.
Right,
So it'll just zero out.
right, from a
Okay.
guidance perspective, but you're
Okay.
right, there will be some difference between the two numbers
That's okay,
that we
okay.
realize the
I
benefit
just
from.
wasn't placing that number in the right column.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So also, what the current view also includes is, I think Kelly, I keep asking you this, it's an 8.9% increase in health insurance?
Yes.
Okay, so an 8.9%.
Actually, it's 8 when you consider all 3 plans that we
Okay.
offer, but 8.9 for the plan that most people are on.
Okay, but it nets to 8,
Yes.
was based on the current composition and kind of projecting that forward. So that's
On the
included.
driver plan,
It's
8.9.
8.9.
And as I think we discussed a little bit, in a prior meeting, I'm not sure if it was last month, there is, Health Trust is, issuing its rate increases in a slightly different way. Usually we get a guaranteed maximum rate in the fall, and then right after March meeting, as it normally works out, they come back and adjust that rate, and that's the rate that gets used going forward. They've changed their, operations and are just giving us a flat number, and that's going to be the rate. So it is going to be the maximum rate.
Right.
There isn't anticipated to be any kind of adjustment in the spring, and we just move forward with those, increases that they stipulated and, notified us of in the, I think
Just
October
plain
timeframe.
Guaranteed rate.
Guaranteed
the-
rate,
They
guaranteed
took the
rate.
M out.
Mhm. So, actually with that in mind, going just forward to December, if we can, I think something we haven't looked at is to just really kind of look at what those plan costs just in general look like for our own informational
Okay.
purposes, and kind of refresh ourselves with the percentages that the district covers, and just so that we kind of have an idea of where those rates fall, for the plans. It was just kind of good information to have.
What did they go up last year? Is 8 high, or is that average, or
Last year it was 18.6.
was it really?
And the highest amount, this year across the state for the districts is 19.4.
Wow, okay.
So we're coming
So
in
we're-
at
But,
8.9.
but this
We're very
is,
lucky.
this is more, this is on the higher side of typical pre-COVID.
Okay, right.
It is claims-based, it's, it's a pool, a risk pool, and they do issue, reports to the, district about, claims, prescriptions, and how they're kind of, where those
Justifying. a
fall,
little bit, yeah.
and to kind of justify the increases that they're presenting, so. Okay, so that's included in there, in addition to the, rate reduction for NHRS that I mentioned, the collective bargaining agreement for the professional staff was standardized, so those increases are included. There's the SAU assessment is allocated, and,
Has
everything
Hessel
seems to
been,
be in place.
Has Hessel been ratified?
Um,
yet?
Yes, I believe I have 3 in my head, so I think that one has been ratified.
It didn't come to the board yet.
Yeah, it's ratified with the union, but you guys need to do that.
Oh,
Okay.
HESA is done?
Well,
You have to look at it.
there was a TA,
Yeah.
ESSA, Kelly says has ratified it,
Yes.
and the board has to take a formal vote on it.
Okay, so maybe at the December meeting, we can review that if the timing works, otherwise we'll wait till January. So, is there any other discussion on guidance itself?
Just a question,
Mhm.
are you going to, when you issue guidance, do you tend to issue it as a percentage or issue it as a number?
A number.
Okay. Are you gonna give 2 numbers with or without the 915 in it, or just with the 915 at this point?
At this point, I would say with the 915, and if something changes prior, we can, discuss it as a budget committee meeting.
I'm just wondering, because next month, the school board will be looking at warrant articles, not necessarily finalizing them, but looking at them, pretty closely. And I think it would be helpful for them to understand what the impact would be if they put the warrant article forward and it passes and the 915 gets pulled out. You know what I'm saying? Just to have both scenarios. I mean, if you issue it as a percentage, they can probably calculate it, but if you're issuing it as a number, it
Well,
might
if
be
we
a
issue it
little-
as a number, you can just look at the difference between the 915 and the first year financing cost
The only thing I'm saying is I don't know that they'll
for the net.
know what number to compare it to in terms of picking a percentage, because we're doing it tonight with a stake in the ground for the budget, but the budget that will come forward will probably be another round, and it'll
Well, I
get-
think we're gonna have to make an adjustment and change maybe at the February meeting,
Okay.
after we know exactly how the school board.
You can't just back calculate that percentage. You know what last year's budget was, you know what this year's budget is.
Do we know what number do you, okay, if you just say what it is, it's give them 2 things.
So,
We wanna keep it simple, but we wanna
Yeah.
be able to
Um,
be grounded on facts too. I mean.
right. So it isn't as simple as taking the operating budget that was in last year's warrant and saying that was the operating budget and that's what we're comparing it to.
'Cause you backed all this stuff out.
We've
That's
approved
here.
contracts and that becomes part of the baseline operating budget. So I think we're all pretty comfortable with the dollar amount, and if it needs to change, we're all cognizant of the issue that's taking place. And I think, it looks like I could speak for the budget committee and say if we needed to make an adjustment related specifically to this financing arrangement for this specific project, I think we would be willing to discuss that and figure out what that number needs to be.
Did the
Am I safe in
financing-
saying that?
Did we put that forward last year for the system and did it get
Not,
voted down? I just don't see a lot of the bonds getting voted on.
it's
being approved.
not an apples to apples comparison
Okay.
to what was done previously.
Right, there was a project proposed, it didn't pass, and there's been the
Wasn't
facilities.
it 2 years ago though that didn't pass?
I think it was 2, yeah.
Was
think
it
so.
two? It
I think
wasn't just
so.
last year?
Yeah, I don't think we did it last
No,
year.
last year was
'Cause
the
I wasn't
teacher
at the meeting
contract,
last
that was the
year.
biggie,
That's, yeah.
once we finally got to the meeting, by the way.
The middle school was deferred, really.
Right, so here we are. So it's been deferred for whatever
we are,
reason, it's been
right?
deferred, and we're at the point where we absolutely have to do something because it didn't pass inspection. I think you're right. It didn't pass inspection, and we have been notified that it needs to be repaired.
Yes.
So the
Well,
question is how
that's
we're
not-
gonna finance it. It needs to be done.
Right,
Well-
and so
It's not as clean as that though, because the alternative financing option is by taking on a larger project overall. There isn't a proposal to just finance the
This
boilers
specific-
as a standalone item.
right.
The-
But we would have, at the time that the warrant is published, we would have an amount for that first year cost. And the difference between the 915 and the first year cost is the net impact to the budget.
Yes.
So,
What I'm getting at is
okay,
whether the board is driving the budget committee or the budget committee is driving the board. And if the budget committee is driving the board through guidance, I'm trying to back into this, but find a way to understand, is there support for financing the larger project that comes into this?
Support here?
Yes.
Oh,
It's never been
well, we
really-
haven't heard the full proposal, so at this point, and to know exactly what's included and how it's going forward. I would say for what's been shared so far,
Actually, I think if you.
and the annual cost is less than 900 by a significant amount, so just from a dollar and cents point of view, it seems pretty easy for me to.
It
weigh
is
in.
if you support the end goal.
Right.
I
So-
don't know, because they're gonna have to decide on it next month at the
Yeah.
board. And,
Yeah,
I
but
think
the-
for
Okay,
some
so
people,
since we have-
for some people, their thought process may hinge on, will this put us in line with the budget committee or in opposition to the budget committee?
okay, so maybe since we have 3 or 4 facilities committee members present, we could talk a little bit more about the scope of the alternate arrangement, so we have a fundamental understanding of that. And then as a budget committee, we could issue guidance that includes it and says if you go the alternate route, we would anticipate the amount being lowered. You know, I think we're kind of talking around the, maybe making it a little harder than it needs to be.
I think of this a little differently. First of all, the job needs to be done. The question is, how do we pay for it? And given contingencies as to the order of the warrant articles, we have made provisions for, in case this gets added to another warrant article and it doesn't pass, we need to have it in ours.
You're saying what has to be passed, what has to be fixed is the 950.
Yes.
This is,
Absolutely
this
has
has
to be
What's
fixed
going-
as the
I wonder what's
950.
gonna be in the full
Right.
package.
Right.
and
So-
school-
Right,
if
so
it-
there's a, 1 second, Raul, there's a larger project that includes the 915
Right.
and has more of a moderate term financing
And,
to
and
it.
some people think that that may be in jeopardy, maybe, and so at this point, you cannot be assured that that's gonna pass.
Well,
And
the same,
therefore, we need to have a backup plan.
if it's all under one, the 915 plus whatever the projects, I think the people are gonna be like, we're not funding, but they realize that the 915 there's no way around it, that has
Right.
to be done. Where these 4 other things would be nice to be done or need to be done eventually, I just think, the town.
But that
with all
option
the-
will not be presented, Dave.
What option?
The option of just doing the 915 with the
Oh.
alternate funding method.
Okay, so it's either all or nothing.
It's the
Basically,
larger
there's a-
project.
There's an overall project to improve the environmental controls of this building. And a subset of that is the requirement that we do something about getting rid of the oil tank and piping for our current heating system. So that is the part that is no longer in compliance with state regulations, as well as there being some concerns about the sustainability of it mechanically. So the 915 is the default fallback. We are going to do it one way or another.
No
If we don't do it as part of the large environmental control system, we're going to do it standalone in the budget.
That's okay, so the whole package includes the whole environmental system
Yeah.
that has to be done. It's not roof, heating, it's not, okay, all right. I just think going to the town with all the tax that are up and everything, I mean,
But
what I hear in town is
the beauty of it
every
is
penny
if we
counts.
do the larger project, we
It's-
will fund it in a manner that has less impact on an annual basis, but one of the rationalizations for doing it is that we have a bond that's expiring for this building. And some people say, well, I don't want the co-op using that money, I wanna take it and use it someplace else.
Gotcha, okay.
So the strategy to me is, you have a warrant article that has that package, including the 915 first, and let the voters decide what they wanna do with it. And then, depending on what happens, you adjust this, maybe,
Right.
if
On
it doesn't
915.
pass,
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
right?
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are, but the one question the one question that I'm asking is that first warrant article that Raul just described supported by the budget committee? Because if it isn't, because the last one wasn't, the teacher's contract wasn't, I mean, certain things, it's not a clear-cut assumption by the board that the viewpoint of the board is shared by the budget committee. If it is, stating that may have an impact on some of the board members' position on the warrant article.
Okay, so could you give us an overview of the additional items included in the larger scale project?
I'm gonna try and give you a real simple one. Essentially, it redoes the complete ventilation system for the middle school. There are a whole slew of different items that vary in age and complexity, but the net effect is that the ventilation in this school is deemed out of date, in some cases potentially unhealthy. It's also not particularly good energy-wise, because if it's used, it's old motors, it's old technology. So this is a system that will improve the energy efficiency of the building, improve the air quality and the health, and lower the cost of operations through two mechanisms. One is the boiler improvements, which are switching from oil to propane, and have a redundancy. Right now, we have one boiler that covers part of the building and another boiler that covers another part of the building. They're different in age. If either one were to fail, it would be a big effort to try and keep the building open. It would be expensive and difficult. The new system would be plumbed in such a way that they both work in tandem, and that if something were to go wrong, you still have heat for the entire building. So the second element of it is dehumidification. And when you dehumidify the air, it becomes a lot easier to heat and cool it. So there is the getting the ventilation period, the airflow, and then there's improving the quality of the air, which will help with the efficiency and the comfort level. The original program covered the entire building. It has since been scaled back to only cover the areas that impact students. And if the other area wants to be done, at some point it could be done in the future. There's likely to be something to do with facilities expansion requirements in the next 5 to 10 years here, as the elementary population moves up, if it still moves up. A third separate element is that it also prepares the building if we do want to look at solar energy as an option. It would be solar ready. But that doesn't impact the cost of it. It's a benefit of the program.
So it doesn't include solar in this stage.
Solar is a standalone item that we're looking at in parallel.
Okay.
It has a whole different finance system, and from what we're told by EEI, the folks who assist us with the design consultation, it essentially is self-funding, in that you can finance it in a way that the savings pays the annual payback on it in the first several years of it.
Are there any grants involved?
Yes.
Rebates.
I don't, they're rebates, not specifically grants that we
Rebates,
don't.
or rebates, yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming they don't
Do
go
you have
away
some confidence
because
those will be there in 6 months?
I don't have an insight on that. I don't know the specifics of how they're written. I think some of them are state, some of them are federal.
Yeah, Mike actually sent us an email that said that the new administration could have an impact on whether those remain. But they are due to expire, you know, before
Within a year or
all
two.
that happened. Yeah, they're only good for a couple more years.
And so the overall cost of the comprehensive project is anticipated to be
The total bill or the annual bill?
total bill first.
I think it's a little shy of 8 million.
Yeah, I believe
Well,
that's.
including the solar, the air handling piece is six
That's six?
six
Is it
something.
6? Okay.
Okay.
I couldn't
6
remember.
million
6
Yes.
million.
on top of it, so it's either nine, I mean,
It's
what I'm
either
saying, you're
not-
gonna be presenting the towns with 915,000, do what has to be done, or would love to spend 6 million
Well,
with
not quite.
No, because if
I-
you spend the 6 million to buy it, the actual cost to the district on an annual basis is going to be something less than 600,000. It's around 500. It's lower than the amount that's coming off.
Right.
Okay, so, right, because we're making the last payment on the middle school bond.
Right,
Would
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you know, simplicity is, you know, you look at, every year it could be 915, next year it could be 1.2, has to get done, or you can do the whole thing for 600,000 a year.
For,
it's
you're looking at a
complete.
10-year?
Probably we're probably looking at 15 to 20.
Yeah, I can't remember.
We're looking
which
at
one.
both to see
But
where the rates
new
are.
system will outlive that loan.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
um,
I'm just saying that has to be made clear to everybody,
Yeah.
because it's, you know,
Yeah.
you hear 6 million, you hear 900,000, you just, all you hear is 900,000.
Right.
Let me point
But
out
we-
that at the last meeting we attended, right, we had what I thought was a tentative agreement on the combination of items to be put together
We
as
did.
part of a proposal.
the facilities committee was in agreement, yes.
And so the question is, I haven't seen the final proposal moving forward. Is that gonna be briefing,
At our
briefed to
last
the
meeting,
school board?
the non-solar portion of it was presented by Superintendent Corey. And there is, I expect there's going to be discussion and potentially a vote on it this month. What wasn't well covered was the solar component of it, and I'm hopeful that will be presented. Rob is, I think, well, I know he's reached out to Lance to see if Lance and Mike can come to that meeting for it. I will not be able to attend, so I'm hopeful that they get those folks there.
From what I remember, I think the number was more like between $450,000 and $500,000 for
The number
the
that
yearly
Andy,
amount of the bond.
the number that Andy gave us was.
It was less than the
It
600.
was
Oh, yes.
over 5.
Yeah,
What was that?
I think it was in the fives.
The,
Yeah.
the number that Andy gave us was over 5.
Okay.
I don't have.
And that makes the whole system ready for solar, and solar is pretty much non-costed
The-
because
well,
of what you said.
The main thing it does is it gets this building up to code. It gets,
Efficient.
air conditioning or at least dehumidification in virtually all of the class spaces. It gets rid of the hole in the wall in the gym, where right now the only ventilation they have is to open a set of louvers and let the air in or out. And again, it includes the boiler system. If the solar were to pass, there's two options of how they configure the rooftop heating system. It is, what do you call it? It's a heat pump technology system, and you have heating coils in it. You can either have them run by the propane, by water heated by the propane, or you could have it heated by electricity. if there's support for solar as well, they would put the electricity in that so that it could be powered by the solar system.
So if the big thing contains the boilers, it sounds like, right?
Yep.
So there's that $600,000 line item here for the boiler lease. How does that?
That
Would
is
that-
the alternative.
So well, the alternative would be 600 plus the 915 then.
No.
No, the
No.
915 comes
Either
out
or.
if the 600 goes in.
It doesn't- Okay.
The
Right.
600
Yeah.
is the full Monty on the
That's the
ventilation.
That's the
Right.
place. That's the
That's your
placeholder
It's
for
a
it.
place-
Oh, for the
payment
okay, that's
on
the year.
$6
Okay,
million.
got it. Okay, that's the yearly payment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
But if
and
we
it's,
go-
Alright.
that's what's coming
Okay,
off.
close to
So we
Okay.
put that as a
Or over
I'd
five.
be
to
one or
keep
the
it
other.
cost neutral.
So that number would change based on the proposal that Andy presented.
So, interestingly
Yeah.
enough, if you take $915,000 out of the operating budget and the bottom line, and include a $600,000 payment, we actually have a net budget reduction.
Oh my gosh.
And
That sounds-
If I calculate, I'm
From
looking
last
at it like,
year?
did I calculate that correctly?
From last year's?
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm taking 915 out of the operating budget line, and that difference would be a reduction, and 915 out of the bottom line view that we have, because right now we're double counting. We're counting 915
Yes,
and
you
600.
are.
So I have to take 915 out, and it results in a budget reduction.
But there are other items that aren't in it yet.
Well, we have estimates.
You have estimate for HESA in
The only thing we're
already?
missing is HESA, and even based on the,
How much are we negative by your?
$1 million.
Oh, so we're not
So
putting
as
that
long
much
as
back
the
in.
HESA agreement comes in at below that, we would still be
Budget changed by $1 million.
in the negative.
Yeah.
And that includes a $125,000 contingency, $300,000 in the maintenance trust, and the $600,000 payment, and the district's portion of the SAU budget.
And
Will
a
we
big,
consider not, maybe taking out any of the contingencies?
Well, that's up to the.
what do you mean? Taking them out?
I
For this
personally,
for this go around, I mean, those
I never,
those
s-
items,
I,
so they
I
have
per-
funding in there.
I personally, you know, it's something we could talk about because we have a retained fund balance, but for right now, I still wanna kinda get back to the guidance
Yeah.
discussion. The level of the, you know, some of those, like the contingency fund,
Yeah.
we could have that discussion tonight, or we might be better prepared for it in December.
Yeah, okay.
So that we can look at like retained fund balances and things like that. But I guess at this point, Tom, to get to your concern about, you know, providing an opinion of the budget committee, I appreciate the information that's been shared and all the work you've all put into it, but we don't have a proposal in hand. Now, if that information's available and can be shared, that would be great. I think we've heard good
It was in
information.
the board packet last month.
Yeah, that's too bad. We do have the
It
information.
wa-
Okay,
To be honest with you, I thought you'd have it, and not on your
Yeah,
shoulders,
I-
but I thought it would be given to you.
It's in board docs right now, from last month. But I'm just saying,
yeah, I mean, because you're asking the budget committee to take a position on something that essentially we haven't seen the plan of. It hasn't been,
Yeah.
you know, you've presented components, but it hasn't been a formal presentation. Believe me, I sincerely
Yeah.
appreciate all the effort and work that's
No,
gone
no, I
into it.
understand what you're
But
saying.
without us looking at the formal plan, I don't feel I can
Yeah.
ask the budget committee to take a position. We can do a sense of the board
do you
that
wanna look
says-
at the formal plan?
Yeah, we would.
I mean, do you wanna look at it now? It's,
Well, another way we can just sort of talk it through is the facilities committee unanimously supported it, 4 of which
I know, our
members
president.
are here
Yes.
out of a total 7.
Yes.
Hmm,
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
And so if the budget committee is fine with that, and you could, or Tom, if you could pull up the actual presentation and just, you know, if there was any information you left out.
there's a lot I left out. It was an hour plus presentation.
Okay, well, I don't know,
You don't
so.
have
No, that's not what I would present, but I should say there was an hour plus discussion.
Matt, can you get online with your?
We can
screen?
potentially,
Oh,
but I just wanna make sure it's still there.
Oh, you projected.
Let's see, meetings. What was the date last year? I don't know, what do you
I
wanna
think
look
we
at?
have
I mean,
already discussed enough facts about all of this to get a sense of the.
You
of the
really
budget
summarized it
committee.
well, Tom.
Okay, so,
A piece that I would add is that this building has components that are 30 years old and components that are 75 to 80 years old and everything in between. So it's a real smorgasbord. What we're trying to do is take the whole building and bring it up to standard. And the building has a smorgasbord of all of this air handling equipment. They don't go together. There are pieces that cover one section and then a different piece for this section and a different piece for this section. And the furnace is the best example. We have two furnaces that Tom explained. It's a real mess. And it's explainable because this building is as old as it is and has been put together in several different pieces.
Do you want me to just project it real quickly
That would be
on
great.
there? Oh, I can't do it from a Chromebook, can I?
oh,
Can you do it with your computer? I could show you where it is. It's on Board Docs.
maybe, I don't know if I can get,
I don't have the sheets with me, but from the meeting we had, there were
Can
like
you
4 or
do,
5 different
do you
options
have
that
a-
we discussed, and we all
I don't know if
tentatively
I have
agree on
access.
one approach, which I assume is what's being,
oh, am I
has
don't
been,
know.
presented.
Where's Mark?
I think the bottom line is, like she was saying,
Okay,
it
it's
comes
taking
down
a break.
below the actual budget.
Right,
I
and the
just
actual
need to be
annual
able to
cost would
get
be,
on the
log
internet.
lessons is.
Do you
is
have a hard
600,000.
copy of it
You
that
said-
you need,
And it
It's
was,
a powder
like
thing,
a
in my opinion.
PDF or
Of- of-
PowerPoint?
All these
No.
different parts.
I'm able to get
I
on
could
through my
email
phone.
it to you.
For construction,
oh,
you
you're
know,
able to get on?
you're
I
gonna fix
do a
that boiler,
hotspot
you're
with my
gonna get
phone.
the town to
Okay,
approve the
so
I'm
would
on,
you
I
be able
just-
to,
And
would
then
you
guess
be
what?
able to
This is
project
gonna
if we can?
If we,
Slow it
yeah,
down.
if you point me
This
to
or
where it
this,
is,
and you can
Board
here,
docs.
band-aiding everything.
Here, get to
or-
board
or
docs.
Partially replace it, exactly,
it'll
if you can
be
get the whole
in here
thing
somewhere,
done,
Right
there.
there.
health-wise, efficient-wise, and possibility of having the solar someday for 600,000 a year, you know what I mean, or under 6.
Under six.
I
Now
think
go
it's
to
no-brainer. You know,
meetings.
it's from when I first started this budget committee,
And you
just
gotta
the
go up
maintenance
here
of the building,
to, up there,
the age of
to
the
Co-op
building,
School
the
Board.
partially fixing roofs here and there. The
Huh?
roof's the same age at the high school.
And
It's all gonna go at the same time or
that
within,
meeting
so
there,
to
Report.
November
patch and patch
13th.
and patch. And that's how I feel about this whole thing.
And
One,
then
the
view
quality of
agenda.
air for the kids in here, the dehumidification in this building with the CMU block walls and everything is huge. And it's just, you know,
Facilities
this year, let's say you get the 915 pass, and okay, the boilers are fixed, but they can't deliver the heat because
Just
there's
put
something
your
else
cursor
in
over
between,
here.
or your
Oh, scroll
furnace,
down
you know,
right
the,
Yeah,
the oil
scroll down there. Just,
versus
do you have that
propane.
thing like
So,
you can?
I mean, my opinion is,
Where's facilities
do
committee?
it
No,
all,
y-
do it
yeah.
all correctly.
Facilities
I mean, if we
Yeah,
were asking them for
doc,
$6
yeah.
million up front this year, you'd never see it, it would never happen, it would
Right.
hate everybody.
Yeah, it's
If you
definitely,
can do it
we're,
for
you know,
across the
at the
board
point, it,
for-
this isn't like a nice to have
No,
type
it's
of
a
thing.
necessity, it's an
And
absolute,
it is.
you know,
And
even though-
so, I guess I just wanna understand, so with the $600,000 payment in the first year, it's a lease agreement, it's not a bond, it's a lease,
Correct.
okay.
So can we just, to move things along, just do the sense of the board?
Yeah.
Because I totally respect what you're saying, and you're absolutely
Right
right.
over there,
We
let's
haven't
stay
been
open.
presented anything to
should
vote
download
on.
that?
Right.
Another comment is, since most of us agree on a tentative plan from the committee that looked into all of this, the approach that I would take is, I would make sure the 915 is part of the big package, and then present a budget that's under, right, the guidance, without the 915.
I can open up in the
Which
PDF
this
now,
does.
it's just
Which,
not
Right.
solid.
right, that's what you just said, so the guidance
Yeah, it's under
is-
guidance now,
it's
so it'll be
under
under
I mean, that's
guidance.
what
If you take 915 out of both sides, it's under guidance in one way, it's under
Yeah.
guidance the other way.
But the,
So,
but
so
the
let's take
raw
the
number-
positive approach.
But
here.
the total
Well, yeah,
number
The
but
gross
just,
number is gonna be
Tom doesn't
significantly
wanna
less
lose
than
any
Yeah.
the
school board member votes,
No,
because last year there's a little bit of smarting going on that the budget committee took one position and the school board took a different, and they would prefer to be on our page.
Then-
I think
which I
that's what's
respect,
going on
and
here.
so, and I, you know, I just wanna, like I said, due diligence as a committee.
Yeah.
I think we can do a sense of the board, and I
We
think
still
we,
want the numbers, though, you know what I mean, we still wanna see everything, you know what I mean, we can say tonight, like, yes, what's discussed makes absolute sense.
right,
And if that's the truth, you know, if
Right.
that's the numbers in the end,
Right.
and we don't find 2 extra million somewhere, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if,
I'm all
we have a
for it.
$600,000 placeholder,
Yeah.
if the financing
I-
ends up being less, then the financing ends
Are
up
we
being
about
less.
to
You
engage
know,
in
like,
an hour discussion?
no,
Didn't
we're,
we
no.
just do that?
No.
Whoa.
There's something else I
What's
did.
going on here?
I'm gonna interrupt the meeting if we are about to go into a 1 hour discussion, okay?
He's only got 30% battery, so we're good. No.
He's only got 30%.
You know, one of the things I haven't heard discussed that would be another reason to do this is it increases the longevity of this building.
100%.
Right, that's what,
And, you know, if we maintain this properly and keep it up, as opposed to let it run into the ground and
Right.
self-deteriorate over time.
You wanna run it, or do you wanna go see?
And then if you want to scroll, I don't have, it's not a touch screen, so you have to.
We're definitely gonna keep it going, that's for sure.
We're gonna need to.
We ain't building any other
No.
schools.
unless Brookline breaks off and we come out of Mason. Just kidding. Remember those days?
Settle down over there,
Sorry,
Mr.
I'll
Glenn.
shut this thing off.
I think yours was off anyways.
Yeah, I think so.
We know
too.
better.
Right. That came down from Corey. No power to blame.
Yeah, 6,000,005.
Okay.
Okay.
Which makes it under 600 a year roughly.
So what you're
Yeah.
seeing here, what you're seeing here is the complete system. So the 915 you see there is what is built into the budget. Then we've got upgrade to LED lighting. That's something that is a nice to have. The rebates are known to be going away, and it helps the overall energy savings. So it has a pretty good payback on it, especially if you're moving to a system where you're relying on electricity for much of your power. Upgrade to the control systems. This is a necessary element of running all of the various systems that are going to be installed. They have sensors in it. They allow you to run it at higher efficiency, as opposed to now where it's just on or it's off, and people turn a lot of them off because they're really noisy. Added mechanical ventilation and dehumidification. That's the places where we do not have proper ventilation, and we're putting it in. There's gonna be some pictures, but just saying what these categories are. Upgrade of the 1994 system.
Jesus.
It is more, again, more work with, it's nearing end of life. That's the real big one. That's for a large classroom area. Upgrade for the roof units in 1 and 2. Again, that's just replacing some new items. Now this next one, replace 2002 units. That's out of the proposal. So that is areas like here in the office, and we've pulled that 850 out. That's why we got under the 6 million,
Okay.
okay?
That's
And-
the non-classroom ones you're talking about? Is it-
Pardon me?
That's the non-classroom?
Correct.
Right.
And, I think, I'm not positive, but I think they may have also pulled out the NPR one in the total too, again, because I think that's a question of whether they need to or not, depending on the dollar amount. But that's another one, because it is not specifically classroom space, perhaps we don't do that one. I'd have to go
And
back
the-
to the minutes to remember if they left that in or not in the number that was proposed.
And depending on the bond and the number of years, you get way down
Well,
from
that's not
600,000.
Right, but how much more would it be if you included all those?
That's the it would be a net increase to it, because the bond would be more than what's coming off.
Gotcha.
That, and.
On
that
6.5
was-
million?
Pardon me?
You're saying that the payment would be more on 6.5 million than what's
Yes.
coming off?
Yes, the
Boy.
numbers that
Okay.
were given to us were above that on the 6.5.
So we're trying to stay under 600,000
Yeah,
per
I know,
year.
I don't remember it that way, but I'll take your memory.
So this is the boilers, these are the existing boilers in the system that are going to be replaced with, high efficiency propane boilers, and they would be set up in series rather than in parallel, so that they would act as redundant systems if one were to fail, especially as you move towards solar, electricity-driven heating. They become the add-on and backup for the coldest parts of the winter when heat pump technology is not at its most efficient point. So you can get a sort of sense of the system. It's not quite the old steam pipes, but it's not very far away from it. So let's see, LED lighting. Middle school lighting is currently all fluorescent except for the NPR, which is a halogen lighting. The LED will reduce the energy consumption, provide better learning environment. It's become the norm. We're using it in a lot of areas, and there are significant rebates available, but they're expiring because the feeling is they've been available for so long that anyone who hasn't taken care of them, tough. You had your chance.
When you say expiring soon, are we talking?
Within 2 years.
Okay, so well into next year.
So,
budget.
if I recall, one of the projects in the past included LED lighting at the high school also. Did we didn't
put that
do it.
in here, no.
There is some selective upgrades in the high school.
Well, that have already been made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Previously, yes.
So there's no changes to the high school in this proposal.
In this
is all
proposal, middle school only, okay.
So this is just the HVAC controls, just says that it goes in conjunction with the other upgrades. I don't know if you people are familiar with the concept of variable frequency drives, but the idea is with blower motors and things, rather than turning them on and off and on and off, and you get large fluctuations, with a variable frequency drive, you can slow it down so you have a reduced flow, but continuous, so you get greater continuity, and a lot of the systems run more efficiently in that mode. Add mechanical ventilation to the gym. That's what I was telling you. Right now, there's louvers that open up. As you can see right there, that's them, and that's our ventilation system. Is a hole in the wall, literally.
Have you had the kids fanning in front of it or something?
Well, the thing is, you don't get
The spirit
total
team.
loss of all your
The
heat there.
spirit
So you don't open them in the winter. Now, with proper ventilation, you have heat exchange systems, so you get the air going in, but the air that's going out, you use that to preheat the air that's
Come back
coming
in,
in, so
right.
you don't lose all your heat out the
Yeah,
hole.
10 degrees, yeah.
So based on everything I've heard so far, I think we have enough information to get a sense of the,
Here are the in-room systems that would get replaced. Right now, these are frequently not used because they're so loud that when they're running, you can't hear.
Those are in the classrooms?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see, example of that. So, these are the areas that are going to be impacted by the improvements, the red area, not the white area.
But wait,
So
is
the
the
health
gym in the,
classes are gonna get fresh air?
is the gym in the non-improvement area?
The gym is a non-improvement area for heating and as a ventilation to go in the gym.
Okay, got it.
Why heating? Why do you say that?
Pardon me?
We're replacing the two furnaces.
No, but it's not getting those
It's not
new
gonna have
rooftop
ductwork.
units for the gym. It doesn't have air conditioning and things like that. It's going to have just regular ventilation put in, dehumidification and ventilation, but no air conditioning. And the heat source will not be any different. What will prevent is the heat loss. We have heat in the gym, but to ventilate the gym, you have to open the hole in the wall and you let all the heat out. So the idea is keep the heating there, but have proper ventilation so that you can ventilate it and heat it at the same time. So then there's upgrading to the roof units. These are the 7th and 8th grade wings of the middle school. And that's the area that you're seeing circled in red. Those would be affected by that upgrade. And then replace, these are the ones that we're not doing. So this was the heating and cooling for the music room, the staff room, the library, and the main office spaces. That's what we have pulled out of the proposal in its current form.
And those are 2002, those are 22 years old as it is.
Some of the stuff is a little newer. So this is replacing the ventilation in the cafeteria. I'm not sure what the status was in the final proposal.
So just a quick question.
Okay, no,
Oh,
so there
here's the
has been
summary
one.
here.
Yeah.
So that's the final number that was being proposed, 5291200.
And so with those removed, what would be the anticipated timeframe that those components would need to be addressed?
You see where it says expected useful life?
Uh-huh,
That's a
3.
conservative estimate. That's based on a rule of thumb estimate of
Yep.
25 years.
Yep, okay,
That's remaining what's there, you say?
Yeah.
okay.
So those two elements.
So between the
So
next
that's
3
1.2
years,
million.
everything's got to be replaced anyway.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
everybody good
Or
with
that
this?
can be looked at again.
Quick question, Tom.
Yes,
Energy savings, is that an annual number?
yes.
Okay.
So if we were to, if the long-term financing were to be approved, we would be able to reduce the budget by the 915 plus potential energy savings? Or is
No.
the scope of the
Wow.
project gonna take too long in the first year to
It's-
realize those savings?
It's unclear.
Okay,
Let me put it this way. We are not basing our decision on getting those.
okay, yeah,
If you look at the total energy savings, it's 50,000, and I don't think that's gonna be a swing point of it, but
Mhm.
No, if this does get approved by the time you even get the system done, it's going to be the end of 25.
The other issue is with all these recent interest rate cuts, maybe the actual interest rate of the bond is
that
lower than we had been
is-
planning for.
That is the end of the presentation slides.
okay.
What is the rate on the bond typically that you're carrying for?
Oh, it's a lease in this case.
It's a lease and it's somewhere between 4 and 5, I don't recall exactly
4 or
what it
5%,
is.
okay,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
crazy, okay, that's not crazy.
Right.
Saying, but,
It's reasonable.
yeah,
Sounds reasonable.
4 or 5, yeah, right, well, I've been hearing 7 for a year, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so, based on the information shared, thanks Tom for being, and Matt for being able to kind of,
For being persistent?
yes, being persistent. If you could forward that to us, just so that we have that.
Again, that's in board docs for I can, but for anyone who wants to jump in, it's in the, agenda for the November school board meeting under the facilities update.
Okay,
So, but I will, I'll send you want a link to it, or you want that document?
the document.
Okay.
You're looking at about $40,000 payment a year based on taking out the NPR improvements.
I'm sorry,
I'm looking at the payment, we're probably gonna be around 40,000 for the
40,000.
payment if we lease it, or I was gonna say bond it, but if we lease it, our lease payment annually.
the
400?
annual was going to be
Yeah, 400, I'm sorry.
in the
400.
neighborhood.
Let's say vote now.
I got the impression it was going to
Up by
be
0.
in the area of about 500,
Yeah.
of 500 and
You're
change.
still saying 5, okay.
600 coming off, 500 and change going back on.
And reducing this budget by 950. This budget guidance.
Taking 915. And then the missing element that wasn't in the presentation, and I was kind of disappointed it wasn't, is rooftop solar in both on both buildings. The benefit of rooftop solar is that it does not consume any land and therefore does not affect future growth opportunities or use that we want to do with it. it isn't as large a field, but the really big benefit to it was that it's considered behind the meter, meaning that it would not require what turned out to be about a $2 million, $1.2 million
1.5,
charge
yeah.
that Eversource was going to require to build the external infrastructure to handle something from a ground mount. This one would be handled within the infrastructure of each building. So it's an order of magnitude less the charges to put the wiring and stuff in to take the solar power. The one question that is yet to be answered, and we're expecting a report at the next facilities meeting, is a engineering assessment to confirm that the roofs can support the panels. We're waiting for that. But the way it was presented to the facilities committee was that there are programs that are used frequently, and they're readily available, that essentially make it a zero cost program. You don't get the benefit of the solar the first few years, but you don't pay anything for it until you have paid back the installation cost, after which all the savings go directly to the district. But even during that period, you have the benefit that you are now using electricity to power some things that would otherwise you would be buying propane to power. So you get the benefit there, and with regular maintenance, the projected life of a solar installation, he's saying, can be as much as 50 to 60 years. Saying that's the panel light. That's the panel light.
Is this from a school board presentation?
This is from what Mike told us at our last facilities meeting. Not Mike. Who's the other guy with the glasses?
Yeah.
Now, I'm more used to it being 25 to 30 years.
25, yeah.
And one of the bigger issues there is that within that time frame, you've got to start doing roof maintenance. So oftentimes the panels are still good, but
You have to take 'em off.
when you take them off, if technology has changed, you use that opportunity to upgrade. But all the infrastructure is still there for it as well if you choose to upgrade. But he's saying that the current solar panel technology has a 50 to 60 year lifespan on the panels themselves.
Get that ready.
Oh, they will put it, and
hasn't been
that's
around
based,
50 or
that's
60 years,
based,
how do they know?
that's based on, continuing to get, I think it's in the mid 80% of capability after that period of time.
And so what's the approximate cost of that project?
Cost of the district is zero.
Yeah,
It nets out at zero because the finance people take the savings that you get in the first years. What I don't know is whether they take it for 5 years or 15 years.
So or is that like part of the power purchase agreement?
It's a standalone third-party finance arrangement. It's not through
So solar
Eversource.
company will come in and say, okay, it's gonna cost us $2 million to outfit both roofs. It's gonna take 10 years for us to recoup that. Then you start seeing the savings. So it depends on, if you're doing both schools, it's probably not 5 years, probably 10 or 12 years, where your panels are good for 25. So, it's 50% from what I've understood and kind of worked with some people on. So if it's, if it's 12 and a half years to get a recoup, so it doesn't cost the district anything, then you get another 12 and a half years of energy money kickback coming back in. It's a good investment, and especially having another company. Like all these small companies go door to door and put 4 panels on people's houses and stuff, and they save $12 a month on their electric bill. And joke, but on something as big as these schools and a big project, over time, it's definitely. I don't see 50. Maybe technology. Maybe Elon Musk has done something, but I say plan on 25 years and get 10, 12 years back after it's paid off. But again, it doesn't
That
cost
will be
you
part of the
anything.
presentation, but the idea is if we put a warrant article forward for the solar aspect, the
zero
the key
cost
point of the
to
presentation will be zero tax impact.
Right. That'll sell itself, if you can prove that, you know what I mean, to
So we don't, so,
So it's not being presented as part of the budget consideration. It'll be presented as a warrant article for the budget committee to take a position on, but my guess is that it's going to be presented, if it's gonna be adopted, it's going to be adopted in a manner that allows it to have, zero impact. We'll have to have something from the finance group,
yeah,
like a draft contract that says, you know, we will do this for X amount of money,
yeah,
for X years, yeah.
and this is what we'll need to recoup before you will see the savings, you know, like we did
Yeah.
with other things. But that will have to be part of the presentation. I don't believe there's an appetite to present it if there is a net tax burden.
Could you have a
Okay.
presentation to the district that basically says we wanna get a sense of the district and just present it with no impact whatsoever, but just to see how people would vote? Is that possible?
Well, but if you did that, it would not authorize you to actually to do it.
No, but at least we'll get a sense as to whether or not we're going in the right direction and
Well,
we're
if it-
approaching
Well,
it
the
correctly.
solar's not
Well, if
even
we
an
put it
option.
forward as an actual thing, we'll get a sense.
Yeah, you
but
are.
I mean, the worst that happens is it fails. Then
Yeah,
you got
right.
your sense. But
Yeah, but
that's
you're
why
not-
we're not putting it in this bundle of
that's
this.
why you're
Right,
not
right,
putting
right.
it
That's our
together
point,
with the
That's
two,
right, that's
okay,
exactly
got it,
right.
all right, okay.
Because you can't do the solar if everything's not
It's a totally
changed.
different mechanism.
If they only go, if,
We could, but it's a cart before the horse thing.
Right,
Our,
that's what I'm
we would offset some of our electric use, but we would not be leveraging it.
right.
Not only that, then we'd be stuck with the $915 to pay as well,
On
and
top, it would never happen.
we'd get, absolutely hammered fiscally.
yeah, I think solar's the only option if you replace everything and get this new system for that 6 million or whatever that end up being, prep for solar, and then next year we say, okay, now we can have solar for net zero cost to the town. I think in small bites, you know what I mean, get this whole thing approved, get it through and explain to everybody that, okay, it's gonna cost 600,000 a year, and the whole system's good, healthy, fresh air, you know, everything, and then next year we say, now we can do solar for no cost.
Kelly, are we required to do bonding as the first articles?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think I'm just speaking off the top of my head right now, I don't have authority to speak for the board or how it'll be. But what I would envision is that the first warrant article would be the bond for the HVAC program.
Right.
This
Yes.
five point something $1 million bond with an annual payment that is under $600,000 through whatever funding arrangement we settle on. The next one would be the budget. Some point further down, when those elements have been decided, my hope is that there will be a warrant article for authorization for the solar because of the way it would be financed, I don't believe it's considered a bond. I think it's probably a contractual financing operation, because we did that with lights and other things. But, so that would happen after, and if one got shot down, I suspect the other one would probably not even make it to the floor.
So at this point, I will ask,
How you feeling, darling?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Nauseous at the table.
I'm feeling at this point, I'm glad I do numbers and not all this like mechanical and electrical engineering stuff, because it's really, there's a lot involved, and I'm glad we have four such able representatives from this committee serving on the facilities committee. So I'll ask at this point, I would look for direction from the board, from the committee, if you feel comfortable moving forward to make a motion to support the boiler lease project, or if you'd rather wait to personally review the documentation Tom shared with us and go with the sense of the committee.
Personally, I'm pleased with his presentation and their advice, you know, the four members that are here, to say, you know, to keep the two boards on the same page and not have any you know, it's not a no-brainer, they're not asking for a lot, it's not, it's gonna be savings, as you showed, so
Mhm.
I think we can, my opinion is we let the school board know how we feel about it and show support of it.
Okay, so I would be looking for a motion to support the middle school boiler project with
Call it the middle school
within the financing.
facilities project.
Facilities project. Oh, you're right. It's written here, HBMS boiler, like, but it is the HBMS facilities project, acknowledging that final financing is to be determined and will not be in excess of the amount of the retiring bond from the retiring bond amount.
Make that one.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Tom Enright. Okay, any discussion?
So that would become like our primary set of numbers then, and then the alternate would be if that
Our
fails,
primary
then-
set of numbers still has to include the 915, it
okay.
still has to include both
Yeah,
until the actual
then.
vote. And so it'll be, there'll be some interesting information put together that'll somehow explain this at at the annual meeting.
The only question I have is, I don't know if Brookline has an energy committee.
They do, and they are represented on it.
They are, and is the Hollis Energy Committee also?
Yes.
Okay, so that's great resources for this, so.
Okay. See no other comments or discussion? All those in favor of supporting the middle school facilities project? 1, 2, 3,
Aye.
4, 5, 6, 7. Great. It's unanimous for those present, so it's 7-0-0.
Okay, I've
So,
got-
with,
just a second. Got you, Raul, Matt, Tom, Brian, Dave, I need Tom Enright. Do you, you still have the, your SAU 41 email, does that still work?
Me?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
okay, I'll use your other one
and
then.
Brian Rader.
I've got Brian on it.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that I need to be sending this to?
No, I think
Kelly,
that's
do
it.
you don't need it, do you? Okay.
Okay.
Don't send it to my SAU 41 email.
Or mine. I know I have
dear,
it.
yeah.
Send it to my Yahoo
It's
email.
Oh, really?
It's like, holy shit.
Now you tell me.
You
Or you can
guys.
Darlene, she can forward to
You
us.
It's on board docs.
I've got this anyway. I've already got it.
You
so-
should have it.
Yeah, you're all set.
But I want you to have it so you can send it to everybody else you know.
All
Okay.
friends and family.
Is
So,
is
with
the
that,
two people?
I think you can take that information and share that, obviously,
Yep.
with the school board at your next meeting.
HBFB?
Yes.
So I'd like to get back to the, guidance discussion.
Thank you, Darlene.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that was, we were able to do that and, have that information and have the discussion. I think it was well worth it. And again, appreciate all the input everyone's put into that project over the last year, or however many months it's been. So at this point, getting back to guidance, we would be putting forward a dollar guidance view, including the piping repair component of $915,000. If at a later date, something shifts, and we need to address it again, we'll obviously do that, but as we've discussed, with the alternate financing arrangement of the complete, middle school, facilities project, we would be realizing savings, because right now we basically have a double count of the piping repair project, and that would be included with the overall middle school, ventilation project. So, at this point, I, would entertain a motion to set guidance to the district at $31,259,463.
Second that?
Motioned by Tom Whalen,
Motion by me.
seconded
So
by
moved.
Tom Enright. Okay, any discussion?
Just for comparison purposes, how
Mhm.
does that compare to last year's similar budget, as close as we can make that comparison? I mean, it's not exactly,
So the adjusted operating budget, from last year, hold on.
It's like
that would be,
2871.
it's adjusted for the contracts, so let me just pull that up. So right now that comes to 31,948, 896, and that budget,
No, that's
No, hold
round
on.
2. It's 29,304.
But does
Wait.
that include,
oh, yes, you're right, Kelly, I'm sorry, it's 29, oh, hold on a second. Are my numbers going haywire here? Let me make sure.
does that
I'm
include
just-
the first year of the teacher's contract
Yeah.
though?
No, I take back, I wanna take back something I said, cause I think I did it wrong.
Hard to believe.
I'm about to say.
Smile.
It's been a long week.
No,
We
I'm
agree
s-
with him, we're gonna show support, and that's what he does to
I'm
her, huh?
serious. That was
Without
not,
her.
No, I know. G and G706, just give
You
me
know that
1
thing, it's
second. No, that's correct.
yeah.
Oh, it's this
I,
here.
what was it?
Oh,
I
no,
was
I did it.
mistaken. I
Oh.
thought I made a mistake once.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I led you all astray. I was taking the percentage changes off of the wrong budget. So let me do that again. Sorry, everyone, like, you're gonna see something. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, so that would be a 4% increase from the last operating budget and a 5% increase from the current budget. There are no reductions. It's pulling from the prior view of the round 2 view of the budget. So now
So you mean-
pulling from the FY25, I had earlier said, oh, if we did this, we would see a savings from the prior budget view. I was looking at the wrong budget. So we're
So
looking
the-
at column E, and which is the current budget that we're in now, which is 30,898,845.
Where are you?
I'm on the superintendent's view of the
Oh, okay.
budget trend file. So our current budget is the one we're working in right now is 30,898,845.
38, what?
30,898,845.
Yeah.
Call it 30.9.
30.9. As written with the duplication of the project costs, we would be at 33.5 million, which is an 8% increase in total, all warrants, excluding the HESA contract. Removing the cost, the duplicated cost of 915,000, assuming the lease passes, the budget would be 32, the total budget, all warrants excluding HESA, would be 32.5, which is a 5% increase. If the opposite happens and the
You just pull out the
bond
600.
doesn't pass, but we end up having to pay for the 915, we would be looking at a budget of a 6% increase in the budget. So one version is a 5% increase, 5.3, and the second version is a 6.3% increase.
And what's the guidance?
Guidance is 31,259,463. Hold on. 31,259,463, which is an increase of
31.5, did you say? Versus
30.2.
30.6.
did I say, was
This
it
number right here.
I,
31,259,463,
yes,
right?
That's current guidance.
Yeah.
that's current guidance, right?
That's a 6.7% increase in the operating budget. The board is coming in slightly under that,
I think we
which
need
would
to,
be,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, one more thing. I don't know why I'm doing that's happening. Which would be lost in the rounding for that difference. It's still 6.7%. It's just a rounding We'd have to go out a few decimal places.
Can we generate a simple 1 or 2 VGs to kind of simplify all these numbers to
Yes,
illustrate?
Really good
Okay.
yes.
Do you need any help in doing that?
No, I
or-
can do that. I'm just doing it on the fly right now, but I can.
Yeah, but I
can-
think that would be useful because
Yeah,
I think
oh no, absolutely.
I think explaining the strategy to the public is a big deal for me, and I think that helps educate why we're doing this. I mean,
Mhm.
don't focus on the number difference, just focus on the rationale behind it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I nominate Raul to be our spokesperson for
No, I
this
don't think
program.
so. I tend to get in trouble from time to time. so.
No, I'm,
We all do.
I'm not saying this in jest because you have a perception and an awareness of a thought process that is representative of a significant portion of our public. And you frequently bring up points of interest that I think some of us who are really close to it take for granted. If you're not going to be the presenter, I would at least like you to be very active in the creation of the presentation.
Oh, absolutely. I would definitely like to do that because if there are questions that come up, maybe I can help provide
I
my
will-
perspective why I supported it.
I think it's important that we have something that you can speak to comfortably and clearly because your input was a big factor in driving the way the facilities committee came to its final recommendation.
Well,
True.
I basically like to support this strategy. As long as we have a sound strategy and it all makes sense, I tend to go along with it.
Yep.
It's not a matter of percentages or numbers, it's a matter of what do we need. And we need to make a good case for it.
But I think too often the public hears from those of us that they're tired of hearing from.
No, I think you're on, Tom. I think you're doing well.
Okay, all right, I'll put a brand new summary together for everyone who explains all the percentage increases in all the different versions of how this financing is gonna work. So, we can all feel good about what we just decided on for guidance. Because doing it here is.
So the
We haven't
number.
voted on it yet,
So-
I mean, we basically
Yes, we
talked
did,
about it.
oh, we did, thank you, okay, great, I appreciate that.
That was part of the
Dawn would have
discussion we
been
had.
like, hello, you never took a vote, so, thank you.
No, we raised our hands, didn't we?
On the last one, it was on the last one. Is there any other discussion?
Just ditto.
We gotta do it twice.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of setting guidance for the FY '26 co-op budget at $31,259,463, please vote. Aye,
This is
1,
our
2, 3,
number.
4, 5, 6, 7. Unanimous for those present. Great, thank you. I'm going to, seeing the time, it's 8:04 right now, and I respect everybody's time, and would like to, stay as close as we can to our 8:30, end time. I did share some information with everyone with regard to our data on state aid and the tax rates. The calendar hasn't changed. I'd like to hold those items over with a tax rate overview to the December meeting, because I would like to take what the remaining time that we have and have Tom issue the school board update, because there's some follow-up from the October meeting that regards meeting rules, moving forward with a potential special meeting, and I'd like to just have everybody hear the results of what took place at the last school board meeting, and I think our time is better spent right now talking about that.
Okay. Tom, you were there, right? Yeah.
I was.
Uh,
I'll nod my head as you speak.
Yeah, it was really straightforward. I think, oh, people weren't here. I'm sorry, there were 3 proposed or requested modifications to the rules that will come proposed from the moderator. The first one is to not give petition warrant articles an immediate, an immediate 10-minute presentation at the beginning. The second was that a motion to end debate actually ends debate, rather than allowing everyone who might be in line to speak for their 2 or 3 minutes. And the third was to require 2/3 majority to move an item on the agenda to reorder the warrant articles. In short, Drew, after a lot of discussion with various resources, has agreed to propose all of those in his rules.
So that's gonna be presented at the district, that these are the rules, and then,
Now, if someone wants to change the rules, they would have to make the case for it. The one item that is still under discussion and or consideration is the fact that some petition warrant articles do not involve money and therefore do not have a hearing, so there isn't necessarily a natural opportunity for explanation. There may be some leeway given for the person who presents the motion to be the first speaker to the motion, but it's not going to be a 10-minute presentation.
Is SB2 considered a non-monetary warrant article?
No, there is a hearing.
There is there, okay.
SB2 requires a hearing.
Good.
Can we do it as private ballot votes too?
There's nothing that can be done about secret ballot. If there are five voters present that ask for a secret ballot. Now, there's a difference between a secret ballot, which does take time, and a 1-hour ballot. And the rationale that I've seen used for some is that if something's positioned at the end and it's going to require a 1-hour vote, that it get moved forward so that it doesn't add the hour onto the meeting. But ultimately, 2/3 of the people present are going to have to want to have that moved forward.
This is a significant step forward in terms of making the school board's agenda a priority, and getting control of the length of the meeting, in my judgment. And that was, I think, those were the goals, and I think this should be a big step forward.
The other-
And I appreciate the time that, I know that in the October meeting, the original discussion took over an hour, at least an hour, of your board's agenda, and I think, a lot of good discussion took place. I appreciate your input, to the process, Tom, and I know that it, took up time in your second meeting, so I think it was time very well spent.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
To kind of get everybody's thoughts on the table, and I agree with you, Tom. I think it does go a long way to
And it came
set
out,
a
it
priority
came
in
out
the
of here.
district.
I mean, this is where it initiated with Tom and with others here. So thank you all for being the impetus to make that happen. The other thing that was discussed is we are likely looking to go forward with a special meeting to cover 2 topics related to the Articles of Agreement. The first is clarifying language to reduce any ambiguity around bonds versus municipal leases.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is to see if there is support for continuing for another 5-year sequence with the current apportionment formula.
I read that report of the minutes of that meeting. I don't know that it was clear. Maybe you have to have another meeting about it to get some definition on what can actually happen during that meeting.
It's more the content of the
No,
article,
from,
the warrant.
I think that there was a clear understanding of what can and can't be done. What hasn't happened is that, based on the discussion and the output, the final wording of the warrant has not, it has not been delivered to us by our attorneys, but the intent of the, article is well understood now and will be brought forth to support that. The idea being this is not an opportunity to debate changing it. It's just simply, is there support for continuing, essentially ratification of the current
So it could be an
Right.
up or down vote, then we
Yeah,
don't have to worry
that's all.
about amendments and all that
Right.
nonsense.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
And is it January 30th is the potential date for that meeting?
That is the proposed date because of the availability of resources. It requires that we identify an alternate moderator for the meeting, and that was yet to be finalized as well. But the tentative date is for the 30th of January.
Okay, great. Okay.
Other than that, I don't think there's anything.
Okay, no, that's great. Okay, since we went through that so quickly, I'm gonna put some of the items back on the table and just quickly summarize. That's not it. Where's my adequacy? Oh, here it is.
What should we be looking at?
So I'm gonna look at adequacy. In November, we typically receive the estimate for adequacy that we, contributes to our, revenue, the revenue side of things. And looking at the, information that's been put forward, there is generally a 2% increase in the per student, costs. And there is beginning, the elimination of a portion of funds that Brookline benefits from, but the addition of another piece that offset part of what was retired for Brookline. And the net result is, I think I have a presentation I can share with all of you that explains all the components of adequacy for those that are interested. But the net result, after all is said and done, for the community is that we are receiving, I don't wanna mess it up again.
The co-op number?
Where do we look?
Co-op number
833,287, does that sound right?
is, what?
833,287
No.
in total adequacy and swept, or you want just the
No, I'm looking at
adequacy?
just the I am looking at both, and it's 5.4 million for the co-op.
Oh, okay.
So it's, just a little over 5.4 million compared to 5.37 million, so we're really only getting just under $38,000 more. There's some puts and takes along the way. And yeah, so the net is an increase for, the component parts. There's some, a little bit additional adequacy for Brookline, but reduced statewide education property tax, and reduced adequacy, the per student piece for Hollis, but very slightly higher increase of the other. So we're really pretty much flat, even with all of those changes. So,
All that for flat?
hmm?
All that for flat?
All that for, a few thousand, a few $1,000s more.
How does
So,
that compare to the state overall? Did the state increase and we just didn't get it? Did the state decrease and we were insulated from it?
Let me pull that file up. So, adequacy. Total cost of adequacy is just
Number
over
represent
$1
the benefit to
billion, and for anticipated for 26, and what am I, which was the 5U? 25U.
You have to read it closer, but it looks like that.
I think we ought to get insurance and.
Was just
Darlene's,
over $1 billion,
computer.
so let me just copy this.
Sounds good.
I'm looking at the document, the sort of.
Yeah,
the
it's,
FY 2026 adequate education aid, it's more text than numbers. You have a number in there, which is, for 2026, base pupil rate is 42.65, 64. And the next, the first bullet says, $2,392.92 for free or reduced lunch eligible
Yep.
student. Is it fair to categorize that as that is additional revenue that reaches the school district for each student that qualifies? And
Mhm.
qualification means that they applied for it and were approved.
Mhm.
And that's hinges upon, the families taking care of the application. There's nothing the school can do
no,
on the student's behalf.
no,
correct?
and other than encourage
Right,
families
right. No, I
to
just
fill
wanna
out the
make sure
form
so-
in order to qualify.
So the value of a successful application to the district is that amount of money per student.
Yes.
Right.
Do we have in round numbers, how many students in our, co-op,
So the
qualify?
way,
I mean,
the
I don't know if
way-
it's less than 10, if it's more than 100.
I don't know, and maybe that's something
Yeah, I don't have
Kelly,
the number off the
could,
top of my head, yeah.
because what happens is the way that the adequacy, information works is there's a full municipal, by municipality calculation of all those component parts. So in that document is a line for Hollis and a line for Brookline. After those two amounts for all of the students in Hollis and all of the students in Brookline, they come up with the summary that I shared, which was the cooperative district one. And in that document, they only give us the breakdown of adequacy and swept. Those are the only numbers for each district. They're not giving us all of the components. So I guess I could take the percentage of each piece of the total and maybe use that same percentage to back into what the numbers would be, but
That sounds like fun.
they don't
But we
give
couldn't,
us
you
that full.
can't just take that number and divide it by 2393 and get a number?
No, because that's the number for Hollis, or did you say Hollis or Brookline? It's not for the co-op.
And here you haven't
Where are you looking
specifically put it.
I don't remember what was the conversation.
Okay, the
but
first question was, is adequacy, is the full grant greater than the prior year? The answer is yes, by $16 million.
Okay.
But what are you looking at?
The text version of the adequacy.
Let's get insurance on it.
It's your attachment. One of your attachments.
Oh, the explanation of what it, yeah. That,
I-
yes, and your
I
question
thought I
is?
heard
Can we take the
The
amount
number
that
to
we
be
get
around 40.
and divide it
I
by
don't
that
know.
and say how many students
the
are
number
qualified?
seems to be in my mind.
No,
The number of
Could be.
families that
because
were actually getting help.
the amount that we were given for the co-op doesn't give us the child count. I would kind of just have to back into, based on the amount that they gave us, I'd have to back into an individual co-op number from the Hollis and the Brookline pieces that are identified.
Okay, so you don't know how much are co-op and how much are Brookline,
I
yeah.
No,
can-
they
I
just-
can
They're
probably
different
find
rates.
that out.
I just have no feel for the
So I could give you the number. What I can tell you is the average daily membership of Brookline for for every student that comes from Brookline,
yeah,
We have 49.14 students, because it isn't enrollment, it's average daily membership, so it's based on absentees and how much of a day students are attending and whatnot. 49.14 free and reduced applicants, or students identified as receiving free and reduced lunch in Brookline and in Hollis. 50, almost the same number, 52.23.
So, are the students in elementary and co-op approximately equal numbers? I know that at the co-op we're pretty close based on apportionment.
Actually, I had that on.
But I mean, is it similar
It's
numbers?
well, it's in the NESDEC summary. Hold on.
I don't need it.
You're killing me, Tom.
But so we got 800
It is.
and
It's.
400. Because it's about
It's
we have
close.
about we have
It's
about
still-
1,200 from Brookline.
It's usually like 50. The percentage distribution is coming out. I know where to look.
So 50 out of 1,200.
Like 54, 43, 45. But wait. I have it.
We're on the edge of
Based
our-
on, as of June, so it's not as of October, but as of June, 45.3% from Brookline, and the difference from Hollis, so 54.7% from Hollis, so it's about 45.
That's the whole
55.
SAU?
That's just the co-op.
Right.
The distribution in the co-op is like 45, 55.
I
And
think
we've been, that's been,
it's roughly about 4%.
so. And those free and reduced numbers, that's what drives our, our grant funding and things like that. And because they're low, that's why our grant funding is low in a lot of areas, so. Okay, so that was the adequacy information. I'm gonna hold on the taxes because that's a different conversation. I did share the tax bills with everyone. I will just say one thing at a high level. Hollis came in at 10 cents below the estimated tax rate in total, and Brookline came in 4 cents above. There are components, there are reasons why. I will say it was due in, I would say as a cooperative district, our tax effort was lower than we anticipated in both communities, but the valuation estimates were not as high as we anticipated. We put in 2% of increase in valuation for each community. Hollis came in at a 0.7 increase. Brookline came in at 1.3. So that was a significant driver in this case to
Over the course of
the
the
tax
year?
impacts. From the last time the assessed valuations were identified, so yeah, in the past
Wow.
year. Mm-hmm.
It was basically flat.
So,
Do you know when they do that valuation? When did they do the evaluations, the most recent ones?
we've revalued, I think each community revalued in the same year.
About a year
And
ago.
the,
Oh,
I
it's
don't-
just revaled this year, so this year, the revals came out. Meaning that
This
next
year?
year, they'll be used for the calculation.
no, last year they came out,
Came out,
They
for
ca-
23.
I thought they came out 2 years ago. They actually did it 2 years
it
ago.
wasn't
didn't
2
they?
years.
It was in 23, it was last
23.
year. So it
Yeah.
was for last
So
year.
fall last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, fall last year, right, okay.
Yeah, and so now the assessed valuation is just then shifted by permitting and things like that, so.
The tax year is April 1st through March 31st, right? So if it came out in October, November of last year, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
that
last
was in the
November,
last
that's
year,
when,
right.
that's when the last rates
Last
were
year's
set.
tax year, right?
Just paid my bill today.
Yes, the rates are always set in November.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Mhm. Okay. I think we got through the agenda. I will just ask for December, we're kind of facing the same, issue with, where the meeting, the fourth Thursday falls the day after Christmas. And so we would look to reschedule, and I'm wondering about availability for everyone on Thursday, December 19th, and we go to the third week again.
I will not be here.
Okay with
So you're
me?
looking to do it on the 19th, is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
You're looking for the 19th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay, good.
Okay, I'll double check with Brian.
What's the other option? It's not much, right?
Different day.
Like that, I mean, you're sticking a Thursday back to the 12th or Thursday second?
Well,
or
the
no?
12th feels kind
You
of
don't wanna do it on the
Oh, no,
12th
there's
'cause
a
of the
governing board meeting,
Governing board
isn't there?
meetings.
Yes, the 12th.
The
So
governing
19th
board
is
meeting
the
on the 12th will do the public hearing on the SAU budget.
How about doing it on a Tuesday, the 17th?
What's on the agenda for the next meeting?
Are you gonna be okay, here, Tom?
I'll let you
No,
know.
I'm gonna be gone that
Yeah, but do
week.
you know, is there a regular thing?
I don't
'Cause
really
there's
gonna
recall
be a
right
budget.
now.
I may get back on the
Hmm.
19th, but I've got
Is there
another
gonna be a
meeting already
hearing
scheduled.
for
So if I
anything
come back, I have to go to
in
that
December?
meeting.
Yeah.
But is
Yeah,
it more
yeah, so
important than
you-
this meeting?
Oh, I did actually, what I
Maybe
did
it's
wanna do
recreation committee,
was,
It's definitely more
I'm not sure if you'll have a revenue estimate by then.
Mm,
That might have to wait till January.
I'll try it.
I would like to put together, I can't believe I'm gonna say these words, an apportionment analysis. Last month, Raul, you mentioned just kind of understanding, different formula variations. So I looked at some of the old files and, can hope to pull something together
Okay.
about that. I'd like to, summarize, the unreserved fund balance, so we just kind of understand. I have a historical document that looks at what we've returned, annually for Hollis, for Brookline, for, the primary schools and the secondary. And then I would like to look at those insurance rates and just kind of see historically, kind of just ground us again in where we are with what those rates look like to our, and maybe talk about HESA.
Oh, that's it.
I'd like to, or I'd be interested in, hearing about special education at some point.
Okay.
Its budget, its increase has been in the 10% or higher range, and I'm not, upset about it, I wanna understand it.
Okay, great. We haven't
Um,
had that in a while, so I
yeah.
think that would be
Okay.
time well spent in December.
One thing I've noted, over time is that, if your special education is going up, fairly rapidly, your costs, sometimes there are services you can provide in the community that, as Tom said, gives better service to the students and costs less. And that's sort of the perspective I'm taking, or I'm interested in.
Or at least look for opportunities to, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You could be pleasantly surprised when you learn what we're doing. It's a focus.
So, I mean, we could
Good.
consider
Good.
the 17th of December. Is that better for you, for anybody? And I don't know what Lauren's, schedule is like, or
Yeah,
Gina to
I'll
put up
I'll
with
see
you.
if I can get her.
Her last presentation was great,
Yeah.
what she did.
Mm-hmm.
So you, are you switching from the 19th to the 17th? Is that what we're doing?
That's what I'm kind of asking, if it improves availability for anybody. No.
Doesn't
Okay,
have
so
any
let's
effect
stick
on
with the
you.
19th then, and if that doesn't prove, sorry, good for Lauren, we'll
Okay, I'll find out.
try to shift things around.
The only choice that week is the 16th,
Don't you normally have meetings on Monday?
on the Thursday.
The select
Special ed
board
doesn't
doesn't
have to be
meet on
next
the
month.
Monday?
On that Monday,
Sorry?
we're not meeting.
Okay.
We're
Special
meeting
ed
the
can be
Monday
any time.
before.
Oh,
I'm
it
just-
can? Okay.
We
Oh,
moved
yeah,
ours
I'm
to the
just
9th
interested
Okay.
in the topic before
So wait, what?
we
We
lose
moved ours
ourselves
to
into
the
it.
Okay,
Oh,
all
instead,
right.
so you
It
could do
might
it
be
to
better
the
for
16th.
Lauren
Do
to be
16th.
January, but
Absolutely.
I'll
Okay,
double, I'll
all right,
find
if
out.
January works better, we'll do that too. All right.
Well, let me ask her, but,
All right, let me check with Brian as well, because if either of those, well, I'll just see what his availability is on the Monday, the 16th, or Thursday, the 19th. Sorry, I keep doing this.
Oh, so
So sorry,
I
Tom.
booked the 19th.
You booked the
You'll tell
19th.
me if I need to change it.
I will tell you if you need to change it.
I'm
Are
booking
you-
the 16th,
are you- You're still
17th,
talking
and
December?
19th.
Yes.
You didn't move to January yet.
What?
You didn't move
I
to
don't think I
January
can miss
yet.
another meeting.
I didn't what?
You didn't
Six
move
on
to
it,
January
six.
yet.
No, I didn't move to January yet, because in
So I can't
January,
volunteer.
we can go back to just our normal fourth Thursday.
yay.
Cause look, there are 5.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we can go to the
It's 5
fourth, back to the
paychecks.
fourth January, in fourth Thursday in January. Oh my God.
So you're gonna send out an
Yes,
email
I'll
what
send out,
day in December?
I'll send out something.
Yeah, on the 15th.
On the 15th.
Okay.
See you tomorrow night.
25th.
So we did okay. We had a
Everyone's
great
free on the
discussion.
25th, aren't
We did.
We're right on time,
Mhm.
and this was very educational, and you know,
Now we just need to see the video of the cruise.
Yeah, very good meeting.
yeah, I thought it was.
That-
Yeah, did you take any videos?
Okay,
I
well,
saw the
wait,
ones
hold
online.
all of
Yeah,
that.
hold up.
We're still on microphone.
Okay, at 8:31 PM, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
from
moved.
Tom Whalen, seconded by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.